An afternoon with Bonnie Stern and Anna Rupert. Recipes for connection. What's in a name? If nothing else, through the past 2.5 years, the pandemic has taught us that social connections are critical to our mental health and general well-being. And what better way of connecting with one another than sharing a good nosh, and even better yet, cooking together. This room is full of connections, and today we're here to celebrate our connection to each other, to food, and to the community. One of the deepest connections is that between mother and daughter. When Shauna Goodman-Sohn heard about today's event, she told her good friend, Stacey Levitt-Wright, our Federation CEO, that she wanted to be a part of it. Stacey, of course, did too, but she's in Israel for meetings and sends her greetings. Bonnie and Anna's mother-daughter relationship is just the type of relationship that Shauna wanted to honor by sponsoring this program in the blessed memory of her mother, Rosalind, a pillar in the Montreal Jewish community. Shauna, a well-known and celebrated chef in her own right, saw the connections between the program and her cherished relationship with her own mom, who constantly supported the Jewish community. Morris and Rosalind Goodman established their foundation in 2003. The foundation focuses on scientific research to improve public health, education, and improving quality of life. If you look on their website, you will see the far-reaching programs they have developed and contributed to. Roz devoted her life to philanthropy and making a difference. She is remembered as a woman of valor, wise, inspirational, and passionate. She believed that her greatest responsibilities were to her family and her community, and to follow the precepts of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. She also believed in Lador Vador, literally from generation to generation, that what our children learn from us will influence our future generations. In 2014, Rosalind tragically lost her battle with lung cancer. Morris Goodman and his children, Debbie, Jonathan, David, and Shauna, together with their spouses and children, actively worked to carry out the legacy of Roz to contribute to enriching civil society in North America and Israel. We are incredibly grateful to the Goodman Foundation and Shauna for their support of this event. We just have a short video here.
A village to raise a child. Well, it took a great community of outstanding leaders to bring me to this podium tonight. This work continues in each generation. We are most fortunate to live in our community that cares so much about mankind and gives generously of themselves
and from their pocketbook.
Thankfully, the obligation of Tikkun Olam
remains firmly established
in the fabric of our community.
It makes me so proud to see our children, Debbie and Jerry, David and Mia, Jonathan and Dana, and Shauna and Tav, involved in community life. I hope that all our 9 grandchildren experience the meaning and joy of fulfilling the mitzvah to repair our broken world. The late Rabbi Charles Bender from the Adath Israel Synagogue in Uchima used to say,
to remember that the coin is round, it goes from one person to another.
Now I clearly understand that it is more important to leave your values to your family than your valuables. When you receive a medal, it usually signifies the end of an assignment or job. Well, I still have loads of new dreams and uncompleted projects inside of me. My job is not done yet. You're going to hear from me. Hineni, I am here for good. Thank you.
I am here for good.
I am here.
I am here for good.
We are all here for good.
Shauna saw this event as a way to support and encourage the next generation of Jewish community members in Edmonton to begin or continue their journey of supporting the UJA, the United Jewish Appeal. Today's event would not be possible without the support of the UJA. UJA is our Jewish community's collective annual fundraising campaign. Jewish community members from all generations, congregations, backgrounds, and incomes contribute to their time and financial support to this collaborative UJA effort. Funds raised through UJA form a collective gift from our community to our community. It is a gift that supports the key Jewish institutions, cultural and educational programs, and security and advocacy efforts that make Jewish Edmonton the thriving, nurturing, supportive place we all love. If you have not yet made a gift to this year's UJA campaign, I urge you to do so. You can consult the brochure on your table or call the Jewish Federation office to help grow our collective gift. On behalf of the Jewish Federation and our community, I thank you for your generosity. We would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Edmonton Jewish Community Charitable Foundation for their generous support of this event. The EJCCF is a foundation established to ensure the future of the Edmonton Jewish community. Please speak to Stephanie Hendon to learn more. Before we move on to the main event, I need to thank the committee who worked with my mom Sandy and I, as well as the Federation staff who pulled this event together. Thank you for being such a fabulous crew.
I don't know, I stood here and turned pages for you.
Well,
just saying.
It's mine. It's mine.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce our celebrities of the day, Bonnie Stern and Anna Rupert. Bonnie Stern is a renowned chef, broadcaster, teacher, author, and matriarch. Although not originally intending to have a career as a chef, she has been
She's clearly much better at this than I am.
She's been a star in the industry since she started the Bonnie Stern School of Cooking in Toronto in 1973. The success of the cooking school, along with the cookbooks she's published, the cooking classes she's taught, and her many other accomplishments in the culinary world, has earned her an international reputation. Bonnie has authored 12 cookbooks. She has received a plethora of awards from many institutions. In 2021, she was inducted into the Taste Canada Hall of Fame. Through publishing her cookbooks, she has raised important funds for the Hospital for Sick Children and for the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada. Together with her daughter, Anna Rupert, Bonnie is here today to share some recipes from their newest cookbook, Don't Worry, Just Cook. Anna Rupert, in addition to being Bonnie's daughter, co-author and partner in the kitchen, is a speech-language pathologist, manager, researcher, and consultant in Toronto. She holds master's degrees in speech-language pathology and international health policy from the University of Toronto and the London School of Economics. Incredibly, in addition to her career as an SLP, she finds time to help Bonnie with menu planning and recipe development. Anna has been cooking with her mother since she was a small child and continues to be by her side, as evidenced by today and by this current collaboration, Don't Worry, Just Cook.
One of Bonnie's key messages throughout her career is that food brings people together. Thank you, Bonnie and Anna, for bringing us all together. Without further ado, I'm thrilled to welcome to Edmonton and to our community, Bonnie Stern and Anna Rupert.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. So she's bawling. And it even started, that video was unbelievable, and the tribute to Shauna and her family. But even just being here with all of you, she said, I'm going to start crying before we even get up there.
I never expect to cry. And during the pandemic, what I would do is at some point during a Zoom cooking class, I would burst out crying out of nowhere. And I would be crying because
It's okay.
I don't usually talk like
No,
this,
yeah, it's okay.
Because Zoom brought us together. I know it sounds a little crazy, but we were really lucky to have Zoom during the pandemic. And Jan is here somewhere, and I did a Zoom class for her and her family and brought her family from across Canada to all cook together on Zoom and then share a dinner together. And now that the pandemic is over, I cry because we're all together in person. And I'm laughing as I'm crying.
Here.
Thank you.
Yeah. This ended up being very helpful.
Yeah. So I'm laughing as I'm crying, and I will get over it momentarily. The other thing that I should tell you.
Garbage is here. Yep.
The garbage is somewhere, yes. The other thing I should tell you, and the other reason why I'm crying too, is because I know Shauna, and I lead culinary trips to Israel. I did it once a year for many years before the pandemic, and I'm doing another one next week. And Anna's actually coming with me on that one, so that's wonderful. And I've talked to Shauna a lot about her philanthropy and the different projects that she's worked on. And before the pandemic, just before the pandemic, she was working on summer camps for children because they didn't have the same kind of summer camps that we know of in Canada and that she grew up with in Montreal. So it was amazing sort of to see her family that way. So we're here today.
We got it together now, yeah.
Now I think I'm together now. I think I'm over it. And we're here to talk a little bit about the book and how the book came about, and there'll be questions afterwards if you want to have questions. We're happy to answer them about cooking or about how we wrote this book. And Anna's going to tell you a little bit about why during the pandemic we started to write the book together.
Yeah, so I say in the book, and I think it's true that that from my mom's perspective, we wrote the book together as a ploy for her to spend more time with me.
And I'm sure those of you who have daughters can understand.
Yes, but it was, so how long, so my mom hadn't written a cookbook in a long time. If you
About
follow
12
my
years,
mom and you like her cookbooks, which I think we all do, you know it's been a while since the last book, Friday Night Dinners. And so why had it been a while?
So I wanted to write another book, but during that time period I closed my cooking school, and I couldn't find I couldn't find a topic that I really felt comfortable with. I couldn't find a way of writing. I was still writing for the National Post at that point, but I just didn't have, I didn't feel the connection between people. When I had the cooking school, I had groups of people all the time asking me questions, telling me what you needed to know about the recipes. And I think one of the reasons, I have always felt one of the reasons why my recipes are easy to follow is because I know your questions before you ask them. And so I answer them in the recipes while you're cooking them.
And I see that when we were writing the book, we would be writing a recipe, we'd be talking about a recipe, and she'd say, well, what if someone doesn't have this? And what if someone's doing this? And will they, like she just knows the questions that are out there. And yeah.
And she put up with me.
No. But I mean, that's a whole nother question about, but we're actually closer, so it's good. There's a, it comes out good at the end.
It came together in the end.
But so, you lost that connection to everyone from having the cooking school, and then two things I think kind of happened at the same time. One is that I write a lot professionally, and my mom and I have cooked together my whole life. And so those two things I think started coming together a little bit. I mean, we were still cooking, and I grew up and was an adult, am an adult, I guess. And then I started helping my mom with writing a little bit. So she was doing a keynote address at a cookbook conference, and so I helped her write that. And through social media in the family, we kind of realized I'm really good at what Bonnie would say. I would post it. My brother would be like, "Well, say this," and I'm like, "But say it this way," and it really sounds like my mom. I will say, if any of you message her on social media, she is the one that responds. I do not pretend to be her in that capacity, but so finally I said, if this was right before the pandemic. I said, if you are thinking about writing another book, just know if you wanted any help, you know, in whatever capacity, I'd be happy to help. And then the pandemic happened, and then you started posting on social, like recipes on Instagram all the time.
And recipes that were very easy to follow. And in your Instagram feed, you didn't have to go anywhere.
You didn't have to link in bio. I don't know if everyone, like it's like how do you get there, and then you get there, and then it's not there, and then it's confusing. So you know, she made it so simple, and then she started hearing from all of you again, and the connection was back, and we, you know, we sort of started writing and talking about recipes, and that's how it happened. And eventually I became a co-author, which was not something that was in the plan, which is really exciting.
Well, because she wrote the book. I mean, the recipes were there, but I would take, honestly, like for me to tell a story, it takes hours and pages, and for her to take that story, she can put it in a small paragraph. So it really helped. She really helped make this book not like this. Would never have been published. Yes.
So, so we have, I mean, you all have the book in front of you too. We're so happy with, when we first got it, I think we got one copy in July or August or something like that, and we're just beside ourselves.
We were stunned.
Because
what we went through, you know, during a pandemic, what you go through to put a book together. Like just think about the photography aspect of a book during the pandemic.
Well, and tell everyone, because I would have no idea, like before this book, I had no idea how a cookbook would come to be.
So the photography in a cookbook, usually what happens, you go to a photography studio, and the photographer is there, and he's a professional photographer that's done lots of cookbooks for lots of different people, and he has an assistant.
He or she has their assistant.
And then there's another assistant. So 3 people right there. And then the food stylist has a kitchen in the photography studio, and she has an assistant, and there's a chef there cooking the food, not me. And then there's a prop stylist, and the prop stylist has an assistant, and the prop stylist goes around to every shop in Toronto, if you're doing it in Toronto,
equipment, buys equipment.
And all the places that have tablecloths and napkins and anything that you could possibly need for a shoot. And brings it all to the studio. They rent it. They bring it all to the studio, and there's a whole room of props that you choose from, because it would be terrible to use the same plate twice.
And then you would visit.
And then I would go in and visit, and I'd go, oh yeah, that looks good. Oh yeah, that tastes great. That's terrific. Okay, bye.
And so what happened for this book, when we say it was a labor of love, the studio was my parents' living room. The photography happened during lockdowns in Toronto, essentially.
And you were only allowed 5 people in your house.
But like also at the beginning, not really. We were like hiding the cars. We were like Tyler, our photographer, we were like parked down the street, you know. And so Tyler Anderson was our photographer, and he is an incredible award-winning photographer, not a food photographer, but a person, like a human that we love, and who is a brilliant photographer, and who obviously did a phenomenal job with the book.
Well, I met him with the National Post, and he used to photograph my recipes for the National Post. So he did do food photography, but he wasn't
That's not his
expert.
thing.
Yeah.
And then Olga Trushan, our food stylist, is my mom's food stylist from years and years and years, who is retired and came out of retirement to do this with us. And then it was the 2 of us.
Oh, and Olga also worked as the prop stylist, because she has a house full of props.
Yeah,
so every day.
Every morning she would show up in her Volvo station wagon and unload, like her entire house was in the living room by the end, every day. And you couldn't believe how much more stuff. So every prop, everything you see in this book is either from my mom's kitchen, from my kitchen, or from Olga's kitchen. And all the photos of the food is food that was made by my mom and Leonie, my mom, like, who was helping. So there were 5 of us, and then the food from the kitchen would go into the living room, And Tyler and Olga and I would get it all ready, and we would take a photo of it, and then after, truthfully, we'd eat it because it was like really amazing good food. There's nothing with like painting all over it or anything like that. And my dad was a saint because the entire house was taken over by Olga's house.
And clutter. He hates clutter, okay?
Yeah, and so
really he does
He would
deserve
like
a
walk
medal.
through the props to get to his office every day. And that was how the book came together.
Oh, and also, not to forget, the weather was just like
Oh.
today because it was the middle of winter. And we would have the back doors open with the breeze coming in. We'd be wearing the same clothes that we wore today here. And
you can see, I did a reel on my mom's Instagram account that shows what it's like putting a book together in your parents' living room. And you can see Tyler and Olga wearing masks and puffy jackets, and the doors are open, and it was hilarious. Now we can say, yeah.
And that's another reason why we were so stunned when it came out so beautiful. Like, we were really, really happy.
Should we start cooking?
I think we
Yeah.
should start cooking. Okay, so the 3 recipes that I'm going to be telling you about today is the churshi. And churshi is this wonderful, wonderful...
On page 26.
On page 26. And I got this recipe from a really wonderful friend. There's a little picture of us at the bottom.
Yeah.
And his name is Gil Havav, and he's like the first celebrity chef ever in Israel and beloved by everyone. And if I'm in Israel with him, and no matter where we go, if we're walking through the market, people actually bring their babies to be kissed by him. That's the kind of celebrity he is there. And he's just the most wonderful person.
We're good.
Can everybody hear?
Yeah, everyone can hear. And I just want to say about those the little black and white photos, you know, it would be our style to have everyone we love in the book or come over for dinners and we could do the photography. But again, because it was the pandemic, we were like, how do we get all the people that we love in the book? I mean, Gil is in Israel, so that would have been a lot harder. But so we ended up putting in some of these the black and white photos let us put in a childhood photo of me and my brother cooking with my mom. It let us put in photos of our friends from all over the world. So that's just a cute little thing
Extra.
that we, and a little
Yes.
extra.
So this recipe is really wonderful, and he gave me his recipe for it first. But I will tell you something about authenticity, just because it's a big topic of recipes now. And his recipe had 2,000 cloves of garlic, 5,000 hot chili peppers, and you know, whenever you get an authentic recipe, it's up to you whether you want to make it that way or whether you want to design it for your family who you're cooking for. And I always feel that the people that you're cooking for and your own taste is the most important thing. And you want to keep the tradition alive, you want to keep the story of the recipe alive, but you also want to make a recipe that everybody's going to eat that you know.
And through the story, you're honoring it and where it comes from, right? I think that's something like through the book you'll find with the recipes. Even if my mom has changed it, which she has, she changes the recipes to all the things she's talking about, but also to help translate recipes from kitchens so that people can make it at home, from the 700 chilies so that, you know, people will make it at home. But you still honor it.
But also when recipes travel, sometimes you can't find the same ingredients. Yep. So you change your recipe because of the ingredients that you find, for the people that you're cooking for just so many different reasons. So I think it's important. I think authenticity is important in the spirit of authenticity, but in reality, I think everybody would change recipes to suit the people that they're cooking for, whether it's turkey and gravy, or whether, and they want it spicier, or whether it's something like this, that my family anyway, and the people that I cook for want it little bit less garlicky and a little bit less spicy. But, and Gil agrees with all those things too, so, and he still loves me.
But then he'll like
so
make fun of us for it.
He will make fun of us,
Yeah.
but we can put up with that. So, a couple of things that I want to tell you just about the recipe and the ingredients. I'm talking about sweet potato and squash. And sweet potato and squash is the basis of this recipe, and it is a really delicious dip that you can serve, and I've also sort of given you little instructions on how you can make it into a soup or how you can make it into different things if you have leftovers. But the type of squash that I like to use, generally speaking, is a butternut squash. And the reason why I like it is because it's available all the time. A lot of times you can find it already peeled. Can you get it pre-peeled in supermarkets? And it has a buttery texture as opposed to being too watery. And some squashes have a lot of water in them. And then when you use them as a base for either soups or a dip or something like that, sometimes they come out a little bit stringy and a little bit more watery. So that's one of the reasons why I like to use that one. And a second reason is because it's usually always available. So I had, and actually we had incredible help from the chef here, and they did a great job of giving us all these ingredients and prepping them for us. So this sweet potato and squash has been roasted, and someone at one of our events asked if they could just boil them, and of course you could just boil them, and the original recipe called for it to just be boiled. But when squash or sweet potato are boiled, they don't have that same taste as if they've been roasted. And when they're roasted, a lot of their liquid evaporates more, and it has a sweeter taste and a more concentrated taste, gets a little bit brown on the surface, and personally I like it better that way. But if you are in a hurry or whatever, boil it. You know it'll still work and it'll still be good. So I'm using about the same amount of each, and it doesn't have to be cut up this fine.
Yeah, you could roast it in like large chunks.
Anyway, yeah. So can everybody hear okay? Everybody's all right? Yes? Okay. So I've got this here, and what I'm going to add to this is I'm going to add some harissa, and this is harissa powder, but you can also be adding harissa paste. Usually when I buy harissa, it's in a paste, and it is very hot. So be careful when you're using it, and every brand of harissa is different. So usually you should buy the same brand all the time.
Or just definitely taste it before you put it in, because you could accidentally make something
too much, like
incredibly
it could be too much.
Spicy. Yeah.
So
What's your favorite brand?
My favorite brand is a brand called
Bella Zoo.
Bella Zoo, and
I asked and I knew, but yeah.
Thank you. She has become my memory. It's dangerous. Okay, so I'm gonna. This is actually now it's very easy to find harissa spice. So it's dried, and I'm going to put a little bit of this on. And you can also, instead of harissa, you could use any hot chili paste that you have. So you could put in a little bit of sriracha. You could put in a little bit of the Korean gochujang. You could put in a little bit of just a little bit of
pepper.
A pepper, like a jalapeno. Now, one thing about peppers that I just wanted to tell you, and peppers are, you can never trust a pepper. Someone taught me that years and years ago, and it's really true. Because peppers, where they grow on their tree, where they actually grow country-wise or area-wise, they'll have different amounts of water in them, they'll have different amounts of heat. So even though a jalapeno is called a medium hot chili, and it's not supposed to be too hot, sometimes you'll get a jalapeno that is so hot and you'll put it in your guacamole and nobody can eat the guacamole. So it's always good to just try to find out what your peppers like to begin with. And this is what I do. I cut the top off the pepper like this, and you can see sort of the inside here. It's really the ribs and then the seeds, because they hang out with the ribs, that will be the very hot part. So you can cut that all out if it's very, very spicy. And then you can do this with a spoon, but I just rub my finger over that one white part in the center, the stem end, and I'm not going to do that right now because then my hands won't be clean and I don't have a place to wash them here. But I would just taste it, and if my whole head feels like it's going to burst open, I know it's a really spicy one. And if it just tastes a little spicy, I could use the whole thing or part of it, and then you sort of know how much of a chili to use. And I found that trick has worked really tremendously for me over the years, and I'm passing it on to you because I think it's a really good idea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to mash it. And there's all kinds of potato mashers you can use, or you could put this in a food processor or blender. So if you want it really smooth and creamy, blend it. But if you like things just a little bit chunky, then I like to use a masher. So I'm just mashing this here. I think I'm going to use the other masher.
You want the other one?
I think
Or do you
so.
want me just, okay.
Do you want to mash?
No, sure. You want me to?
Let's see if this is, I think this is a better masher.
Sure. What else goes in here?
So other things that go in here, okay, so you can do this. So other things that go in here are some lemon juice, and I really do think fresh lemon juice tastes different than bottled lemon juice. So I usually recommend and lemons last a long time in the fridge, so there's always something that you can do with them, like make a bourbon sour if you have too many lemons, you know. It's pretty good. So what I like to do is I like to squeeze a lemon until it's very, very soft, and then you'll get much more juice out of a lemon or a lime if it's very soft when you cut it. Now it will spurt a little bit usually, but you can usually collect that juice. But you'll find it has a huge difference in the amount of juice you can get. If you have a lemon or a lime that is so hard that you really can't go like this to it or anything or soften it in any way, poke a couple of holes in it, put it in a glass measure, and put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And that will soften up a lime or a lemon, and you'll get so much more juice out of it, you'll hardly believe it. So I'm just going to cut this lemon in half now.
Ooh.
And it's very juicy. I can see that it's very sort of beautiful and wet there. And because I don't have a strainer here, I'm going to strain it through my fingers so that my fingers will catch the seeds.
And then I'm going to hand her a napkin.
Okay, and this has like thousands of seeds in here. This tiny little lemon has 1,000 seeds. And it's not so terrible if a seed gets in here. I mean, it's not going to hurt anybody. And also, if anybody gets a seed, they know that you used fresh lemon juice, right?
Here.
Okay. So that is, I'd say that that was about 2 tablespoons of juice out of half of that one little lemon. So that's a pretty responsible lemon, and I thank you.
And then what's next?
Okay, what's next, I'm going to put in some garlic. And so I have cloves of garlic here, and I'm going to grate them. And you can use a garlic press, of course, which I always used to use. And I'm just going to grate it in here. And I'll end up with a clove of garlic. And if you love garlic, you can put as many cloves in here as you want. Or you could roast garlic and put in roasted garlic. You could roast the garlic alongside of your vegetables and then put this in. Now I'll tell you something about this gadget. So this is a wonderful gadget for orange peel, lemon peel, lime peel, Parmesan cheese. And when it first came out, does everybody know the history of this gadget?
A microplane?
A microplane. It was a rasp, a woodworker's tool, and the wife of a woodworker started using it for her garlic and everything else she was grating, and it became a thing. And it's now considered an essential thing to have in your gadget. It isn't even a gadget. It's much, I call it a gadget, but it's much more important than a gadget. It really saves time. Now, one thing about it in grating garlic, when they first started to say that you could grate garlic on it, I was really a garlic press person. And I didn't want to grate garlic, and I told people if you grate garlic on it, you'll end up grating the tips of your fingers, and you don't really
always
want to
very
do that.
safety conscious.
And very safety conscious.
If I'm not wearing shoes in the kitchen, she goes nuts.
Yeah, you always have to wear shoes in the kitchen.
There.
You know that, like anything could fall on your feet while you're cooking. Seriously. Okay. So I never grated garlic. I always told people don't grate the garlic, even though it says you can grate the garlic. And then we have this friend in New York, Mitchell Davis, who we love and adore. And he
You'll notice his name once or twice in the book. We're
just
obsessed.
like 1,000 times in the book. And he is a writer, and he's, what else does Mitchell?
He was the vice president of the James Beard Foundation for a very long time, if you've heard of the James Beard Foundation. And he has since left James Beard, but he is like, we describe him as the funniest, smartest, most brilliant, wonderful, friendly, lovely person. And he was born in the States, but he grew up in Toronto. And
I was lucky enough to meet him through the James Beard Foundation, and we've been best friends for 25 years.
And what did he say?
So I said to him, well, you're grating garlic with the rasp. I said, doesn't it hurt your fingertips? And he says to me, he said, well, there's just a little bit left over at the end, just throw it away. So he's very helpful that way. He puts things into perspective. So I would just pass that. It's very good for garlic, and don't grate your fingers and just throw the little end tip away.
Okay, now tahini.
Okay, now I'm going to add some tahini, and I found some really, I didn't find it, but the chef had this amazing tahini for me here. And it's very important to use really, really good tahini, because tahini can have a very bitter aftertaste, and this is Vish, and Vish, it seems to they have a restaurant here now, and you can buy this tahini there. And whatever tahini you use, like this only calls for a little bit of tahini, so it probably won't make the difference between good or bad. But in a recipe like hummus, where you use a lot of tahini, it makes a huge difference using a really good quality tahini. And this tahini, the sesame seeds come from Ethiopia, the tahini, it comes from Israel, and it's very delicious. And the way to tell is always test your raw ingredients. Just taste them. And tahini should taste good enough to eat on a spoon. Most of the tahini from health food stores or whatever, even if it's organic, has some kind of bitter aftertaste. And it has a bitter aftertaste that's going to end up with that taste in the hummus. And you won't even probably notice if you're used to it, but when you use a really good quality one, and this is just really an accident that this was here today, and I'm really excited to have discovered it in this way. So I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons in here, and then you can also use this as a garnish on top, or you can make tahini sauce. So the difference between tahini and tahini sauce is that tahini comes in a jar. The ingredients are only sesame seeds. Tahini sauce would be, and it's spelled the same way.
And so it's important to check the ingredients when you're buying tahini, because you might accidentally buy sauce.
And if you buy sauce, at least you know you don't have to add the lemon juice, and you don't have to add as much salt or whatever. So I think that it's worth it just to know all your ingredients when you're using them. And then the other thing I'm going to put in is some salt. And the salt that I like to use is a salt called Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt. And Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt has been really adapted by the New York Times, by Bon Appetit magazine, all the food magazines. And what has happened now, and I'm just going to explain it to you because it took me a long time to realize it, is that there are other brands of kosher salt, but they taste much saltier per teaspoon or half teaspoon or however much salt you're using. So you have to know the brand of kosher salt you're using to know how much salt to add to a recipe. And in my cookbook, I don't say it in every recipe, but I do say it at the beginning of the book that I use Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt. And the reason is, it took me a while to figure it out, but when this salt started to be made, which was about 100 years ago in the US, they made it so that the little grains of salt were hollow. So the other kosher salts are not hollow, so they're much saltier. They're twice as salty as the Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt. This sounds so ridiculous that I'm talking to you about salt this way, but regular table salt, sea salt, and most brands of kosher salt are saltier than the Diamond Crystal one. So in our recipes, in any recipe you're making, if you can salt to taste, that's what you should be doing. And whatever brand of salt you're using, if you use the same salt all the time, you'll get used to the saltiness of your food. It doesn't matter, you don't have to use this one, but just know the differences. And I just wanted to talk to you about that. So in the book, we have a beautiful picture of the turkey, and it is in a bowl. You know, either you serve it in a bowl like this, or you can serve it in a bowl like this. But has everybody seen all the things on social media about butter boards? Yes. Okay, so butter boards, you take soft butter, you spread it on a board, then you put all these beautiful things on top.
Tell us how you feel about butter boards.
I think butter boards, I love butter. So first I have to say, I really love butter. Like, I love butter.
We are butter people.
We are butter people.
Yeah.
But I did write 4 books with the Heart and Stroke Association of Canada. And I know how many calories are in butter. I know that great quantities of butter are not particularly good for you, that you don't need butter in your diet.
That it might be slightly wasteful to slather butter all over a...
And to take huge spoonfuls of butter, put it on a cracker, and eat it. And for me, it would be greasy. Even though I love butter, it would be too greasy to even eat that way. That isn't the way I want to appreciate butter.
Has anyone seen the new one, the soup board? That was hilarious.
So you just pour soup on the board.
Yeah,
and like
I appreciated that one a lot.
That was really
and there was
funny.
also a guy who did a butter board, and he was like, "Let me show you what I do," and then he prepared the toast. And he was like, "Get your board." Like that was a good one too.
But I thought after I got over my horror of butter boards, I thought you could make so many different kinds of boards. You could make a hummus board. You could spread all the hummus on top of a board, and then you could decorate it that way. You could make a churchy board the way Anna's doing right now, and she's drizzling it now with some tahini. You could make a cream cheese board and put smoked salmon and dill and cucumbers on it. You could make, in the book we've got a ricotta board. Well, we've got ricotta, and then you could make that into a board. Guacamole, you could make it into the most beautiful board. You know, by putting the guacamole all over a board and then putting all the garnishes on top of the guacamole that way. So I think butter boards did bring attention to boards, and I think there's just so many delicious ways you could serve a board. So this way, I think, is terrific. And this is actually some harissa paste that they used.
And do you want to talk about zahug, which
Yes.
I can't pronounce? How do you?
Zahug. Yes.
Zahug. I'm
Okay.
just going to stop talking.
So it is like a cilantro pesto where you chop up garlic and cilantro, and you do put in hot chilies, and zahug also has many hot chilies in it too. Like my Israeli friends, when they make it for me, I can't really eat very much of it at all. So I don't make it that strong. There's a great recipe for it. I think it's a great recipe because it's my recipe.
Acknowledging that we're biased, yeah.
But it is a really, and we use it on everything. Like I put it out for brisket. So if anybody wants a spicier brisket, if anybody wants a spicier anything, like there's so many, turkey, I put it out for turkey. What else do we use it for? So many different things.
Oh, and chicken soup.
In chicken soup too. It's delicious as a topping on top of chicken soup.
And then people have the option for spice. Like even if we served this and we had like a little bowl of it, well, I'm not going to try to pronounce it again wrong, but if you had it here, then I mean you could drizzle. You see in the photo, we have quite a bit on the photo, because you can also make it to your spice tolerance, right?
Exactly.
But yeah.
Oh, you could also put a little bit of olive oil. Drizzle, put this into a spoon.
You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think so. Here.
I have a bunch of spoons right here.
I know, but it's so full.
You go ahead then.
Okay. But you're going to put
Just
it
wait until
here.
we start fighting in front of you. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
We never fight.
Never.
We have a perfect mother-daughter relationship.
I was never a teenager.
She was never a teenager. Okay. So and another really delicious thing you can put on top of here are pomegranate seeds. And you know you can buy pomegranate seeds that are it's already seeded for you. And so that's really wonderful. And, but if you want to open a pomegranate, I'm going to give you my my way of opening a pomegranate. There are so many ways of opening a pomegranate. So you use that now, and then I'll open my pomegranate.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I cut around the circumference, but just through to the seeds. I try not to touch the seeds, okay? Sometimes you do get a little bit excited and you have to go into a seed here and there, but try not to. And just keep going around until you meet the other end, hopefully in approximately the same place. Okay, and then separate it. Just have patience with your pomegranate and separate it as you go around. And even if you have to go around a few times, you will. It's very fun. Like when I was little, my mother, who was a very adventurous cook, but she had two very discriminating, which means picky, children, my sister and I. And we each had different things that were our favorite food. My favorite food was poached eggs on toast.
It still is.
Lamb chops, and grilled cheese sandwiches. And that's all I ate. Like for 15 years, maybe longer. And my sister liked 3 or 4 different things. And she made everything for us. And so she stopped liking cooking. You know, she sort of lost, but she would always bring home pomegranates. Like, this is 100,000 years ago. And she would open them up, and we'd get pomegranate juice off everything. And so I would encourage you when you do this to wear black. So I used to do this underwater, but I don't do it
Do you need any
underwater.
of the stuff on here? I'm just gonna, I'm
No.
like multitasking.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going around again. Just keep going around and be very gentle. And at one point, you'll hear it starting to crack open. And then just be very gentle. And then when you open it up, do it over sort of a bowl. And then you can shake out some of the seeds. And
I don't have enough patience to open a pomegranate. I
You
don't
do
know if I'm
have-
allowed to say that.
You're not allowed to say
No, I
that.
know, I'm sorry.
No, and then you can do the same thing by breaking it open. This is a little slightly underripe pomegranate, so it isn't cooperating quite as well, but you see it will break open. You just have to be extremely gentle with it. And then you can also take out all these seeds. And these seeds are very pretty colored. Do you want to use some of these seeds too? Because
Sure.
they're sort of a little
Can
bit pinker.
everyone see the board that I made? I mean, you can come. Not
Well, we
that-
could also hold it up to the camera.
I think it's
so
on
that-
the camera had it, I think,
Okay.
before.
Can you see it?
But anyway.
The board is very pretty.
Just want everyone to see my work.
Yes, of course. It's absolutely gorgeous.
So it's.
And then
it's-
serve it with
and
pita
then there's
chips.
some pita chips, or you can serve it with challah at Friday night dinner, or corn chips. I'm gluten-free, so that's what I would eat it with.
And actually, this would be a wonderful appetizer for a Friday night dinner. Like
Also,
really, really delicious.
If no one gets upset with me for saying, this would be so good on latkes.
It would be delicious on
we're-
latkes.
we have a whole essay on latkes and what we do, and we do like half traditional, half non-traditional, and would totally
We've
put
got
this on my
delicious latkes in this book that are really fantastic for Hanukkah. And we also do a wonderful gift exchange. Do you do gift exchanges at Hanukkah?
We do the one where you steal gifts, the elephant, what's it called?
I don't know, there's a name
Is
for
it called an, thank you, yes, white elephant? Something.
It's so much fun. And so
Okay.
everybody has to bring a gift under a certain amount of money. Like we're up to $20 already, which seems like a lot, but it could be a funny gift or it could be a serious gift. And then everybody gets a number, and the highest number you get is the best because you're the last person to choose the gift. And at the end, or as it goes along, you get to choose a gift, but then you get to steal a gift from the other people.
What has started happening though is that there's someone in the family will always bring a box of Halloween candy that was like discounted after Halloween, and then that ends up being the thing that everyone wants and steals.
I know.
And so now it's become a beat that. Like, how do you bring a gift that's better than that? Because yeah. Anyway, okay. Should
Okay.
we? Does anyone have any questions about this, or do you want us to move on to the salad? Does anyone
We're
have
good?
any questions? Oh yes.
What about frozen butternut squash?
Frozen butternut squash. Can you use that?
That's a good question.
We've never tried it, but try it and let us know. That is such a Bonnie answer.
Do you use it now, like for things? In soup. See, soup is just a little bit different because soup would be something that you're going to puree anyway, and you can adjust how much liquid you add. What you could try to do, and then email all of us, is that you could roast it on a cookie sheet and then try to evaporate some of the liquid, and then for sure it would work. But then you might as well roast the fresh one. What were you going to say?
I roasted it and it's
You
Okay.
okay? So, what's your first name again?
Jean.
Jean. Jean roasted it, and it turned out perfect. Okay.
Okay, we're moving on.
Okay. So the next recipe is the yalla salad.
And that is on page 59. And the page before, like the opener to salads, has a 2-page spread of it. And then the following page has one also, but 59 is where you'll find the salad.
Okay. You're going to.
Yep.
Do the
I'm
little-
gonna, yeah, I will do
so
that.
put this over here. Okay.
Okay.
Were there any other questions about that, about the cheer sheet? No?
Okay, where did you learn about this salad?
So this salad I learned about at a restaurant in Tel Aviv called Mashaya. And Mashaya is a wonderful restaurant in a hotel called the Mendeley Hotel. And it has a new chef now since the pandemic, and I haven't been since, but it's still supposed to be really a wonderful restaurant. And this salad was so delicious. And what it is a herb salad that has all kinds of nuts and seeds in it. And it's Yemenite, it's from Yemenite roots. And the reason why it's called Yalla is because a very close friend of ours, Hanuk Drori, his parents are from Yemen, and it's a tradition. You know, fruit and nuts, you know the beautiful fruit and nut trays that you can get around Rosh Hashanah and you can bring to people for different occasions. And that tradition comes from the Yemenites, and it's called Yalla. And when Hanuk has people over before dinner, like for drinks, I always have people over for dinner. But it's a tradition to serve fruit and nuts. And so this salad has the fruit and nuts in it that way. So what we're putting in the salad, you want to put in a mixture of greens. And I do have some arugula. And you can make up the greens, you know, whatever season it is. You might be able to get different things from different grocery stores.
Which is
or
the one
fruit
that you
markets.
love, mash?
The one I love the best is mash.
Do you get that? Can you get that here?
M-A-C-H-E. And I can't even get that in Toronto.
It's very hard to find.
So it's very hard to find. And it's very delicate. But you can use arugula, which is much stronger, but also delicious. Or you can use a mixture of green and purple lettuces. You know, whatever the nicest lettuces are, just use them.
And I'm just ripping all kinds of herbs. So we have cilantro and dill and tarragon and mint, and this is parsley?
Parsley.
Parsley.
Okay, so we're going to put all those things in. And then you put dried fruit in, whatever you have. You know, anything you want. We've got some dried cherries here that we're going to put in. We've got dried apricots we're going to put in.
One of the things that we were thinking about with the 3 recipes that we're making here is that they're all recipes that you can make all year round. Like these are recipes that you can absolutely make all winter, but are like bright and vibrant, and do you know what I mean? Like it sort of warms you up and it's exciting, even though it's winter outside.
We were surprised.
Yeah. I mean, we checked the weather before we left Toronto.
And we knew it was going to be minus something. And we brought our warmest coats and boots.
But mentally we didn't.
We weren't ready.
Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah.
And I love coming here. I mean, I came to Christmas in November once and had a wonderful time. And the thing that was so amazing about Christmas in November to me...
Do you want me to put the herbs in?
Yes, please do. Was that families came and had like reunions at Christmas in November. It was just the most amazing thing. And it was all, of course, about food and everything, which was also amazing. But it was really, really wonderful.
And so you're putting seeds?
And so I'm putting seeds, and I want to put some nuts on.
So we did almonds, and we have hazelnuts here.
And all toasted nuts, because you know when your nuts are toasted, they'll have much more flavor than when you just buy them. So what I do actually is I buy nuts from Costco, and then I roast the whole, what is it, like a kilo. Okay, so it's like 2 pounds of nuts on a cookie sheet at the same time, 350 for anywhere, depending on the nut, from 10 to 20 minutes until they brown a little. And then when they cool off, I'll freeze them all so that I'll always have toasted nuts to cook with and to use as a garnish.
And so we put on sliced green onions, and the pumpkin seeds. And do you want to do a dressing?
Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is a dressing, But this is a dressing that you just make up as you go along. And one of the things that I learned in Israel was that dressings are so easy to make if you don't make a dressing, okay? So you don't have to actually make a dressing. In the next salad, I am gonna make a dressing, but you can take a half a lemon or however much you think it needs, and you can just squeeze it all over your salad, depending on how much salad you have and how lemony you want it. And there is one little pit I saw. I think all the seeds were in the other half. I don't know how I did that. And then the other thing that I need is some honey. So a lot of Israeli salads have honey in the dressing. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna squirt some honey like this over the top, okay? And one thing I just wanna tell you about the jars of honey like this. So do you know the ones that come in the teddy bears? They look like teddy bears. So what I did with mine, I used up the honey, and I really started to do this years ago, and I do have to replace the jar every once in a while. But after the honey was used up and it was completely cleaned out, I filled it with dish detergent. And this is my dish detergent.
Dish soap.
The honey one.
Like yellow, bright, fluorescent
like
yellow.
Sunlight dish detergent that you just keep on the sink, not the dishwasher detergent.
Yeah.
And so that's what I use. Instead of, you know, those expensive, beautiful pumps and all the things that you can buy for your dish detergent to put on your sink, after a year or two, they always break down, they do this, they're not good anymore, you see a different one.
You can't see how much is left necessarily.
You don't know how much is left in there. This is, not this, but the ones that
you
are
could
the
have
teddy bears.
a teddy bear full of soap right next to your kitchen sink forever. Yeah.
And you can think of me every time.
Yeah. But we did, what was funny, we were in Ithaca this summer, and at Ithaca Farmers Market they had the teddy bear, but it was this big and full
Giant.
of honey. She was like, how many should we buy? And we're like carrying around. She bought 2 of these, and it was honestly,
they're heavy.
It's bigger than this.
No, it's the same size.
And so once that happens, once she uses it, there will be a teddy bear full of soap this big instead of the little one that currently has been tolerated
I'll feel bad
forever.
for the little one, but I'll give it up.
Okay. Okay.
So let's put this one over
Well,
there.
did you put olive oil on it too?
Oh, don't forget the olive oil.
So she puts
I got
olive oil.
so excited about the dish detergent. I forgot
But
the olive
so
oil.
it's a very easy, I mean, there's lots of components that you put in it, but also it's totally adaptable to whatever you have on hand. And also it's super, super simple.
So just use exactly twice as much extra virgin olive oil as you have lemon juice. Exactly.
And then
But
you can kind of zhuzh it a bit.
But the nice thing about doing a dressing like that is, first of all, it's different every time, so it's very exciting. And then the other thing that's really wonderful is that lemon juice is not as vinegary as vinegar. So you don't really need to have as much olive oil on a salad where the acid is lemon juice as opposed to vinegar. Because even the sweetest vinegars, you know, are still more vinegary or more acidic than lemon juice. And lemon juice is so bright and fresh.
Oh, what about the kosher salt?
Oh, I forgot the kosher salt. Thank you.
Yeah, it's right there in front of the pepper.
Oh.
Do you put any pepper on
And pepper, you could put on pepper, let's see.
I will say that when we're making this salad, this is, you know, but we would probably put the dressing on, and then I might put some of the nuts and seeds, because once you try to toss it a little bit, all the fruit that's so beautiful might go down to the bottom. Mm-hmm. And that happens, and if it does, don't worry, because that's what we say. Oh, we have to tell you about the title of the book.
Yeah.
But sometimes you might want to put down some of the nuts and seeds and fruit and then save a little bit for after you dress it. Or because it's such a simple dressing, it can stay just, you don't need to toss it. We actually often plate it on like a large sort of flat circular plate. And so then it's not very deep. And so when you put the dressing on it, you don't need to toss it because it sort of touches everything.
It's sort of a salad board.
Yes. Can we? Does anyone have any questions about this? And then we'll tell you about the title of the book because it's sort of funny.
No, we're good?
No.
Okay.
The title of the book, so when we were writing the book, I was kind of obsessed with wanting to know what the title was. And I have since learned from hearing from many authors and just listening to authors speak that that's not what you're supposed to do, like push to get the title. And my mom, I will give her credit, throughout the whole thing was like, Anna, it will come to us. Anna, it will present itself. We'll know what the title's gonna be. And I was like, no, what do you, so I started asking her questions. And one of the questions I got to was, do we have a family saying? And what did you say?
I said, well, like the only family saying that I can really remember about food was my father used to say all the time, you know, Bon, there's no free lunches in America.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not the title of our cookbook, but thank you. And then I said, what do you say all the time? Like, is there something that you always say to people? And she said, yes, I say, don't worry, just try. Don't worry, just cook. And we were like, oh, okay. And we emailed the publisher, and we were like, what about don't worry, just cook? And they wrote back, and they were like, yeah, that's the title of the book. And the funny thing about it is that it is true, and if you've been to a class or you've heard her talk, that is what my mom says all the time. But also, if you really, really know my mom, you know that she is worrying 99.9% of the time.
Of my life.
And not only, like, we
and
know
the other
this.
1% I'm crying.
Yeah. But we then, after deciding that was the title of the book, we then got so the manuscript went back and forth with our editor many, many times, and so then we decide that's the title of the book, and the manuscript comes back for editing, and we're looking through it, and in every single recipe, we say don't worry 17 times. Like, I ended up having to do a search, like a find for don't worry, because it was the most repetitive thing throughout the entire, so now it's only like 70 times mentioned throughout the book and not 1,000. So, okay, what have we moved on to?
It's the beet salad.
It's on page 69. Roasted beet and orange winter salad with pomegranate dressing.
Okay. So, talking about roasting. So, when I started my cooking school, there were people who didn't like beets. Like people, like if you go to restaurants, you know that just about every single restaurant has a beet salad on the menu. And if you ask, what's the most popular salad that you have? It's their beet salad. And if you have a restaurant that doesn't have a beet salad, they're missing an opportunity to sell, but it's starting to get like really heavy.
But I think it's like Brussels sprouts went through the change, right? Like,
yes,
you started roasting them. And then last night for dinner we went to
the most amazing restaurant.
Uccellino. I think we asked how to say it properly, and I only sort of think I'm saying it properly.
It was so good.
And
it was delicious.
And we had roasted cabbage. Right, it was roasted,
yeah.
charred
cabbage.
Charred cabbage, and I think cabbage is now going through the change.
It's really
which is lovely, because
broccoli went through the change.
Well, I don't think, did everyone hate broccoli? Like, I grew up hearing, I remember adults like modeling for me, like, oh, Brussels sprouts aren't terrible anymore, or and now even, I guess for myself, realizing how incredible cabbage is, and as you said, beets went through a thing.
They really went through a thing.
Yeah.
Do people remember when no one liked beets? And I think actually roasting was one of the things that helped people love beets, because they're so sweet and so delicious. Like, why wouldn't you love them? So I think that roasting beets, either whole, you can take beets whole, wrap them in tin foil, put them in the oven, and then just rub off the skins and then slice them or cut them into wedges, whatever. or you can cut them into wedges or slice them and roast them already. And then they have more sort of browned essence on them, and they have a little bit more olive oil flavor. So they're quite delicious. So I've got red beets and yellow beets here, and I'm going to just scatter them all over here. And then we'll do the same with red ones, and always make extras so that you can eat while you're cooking.
Or your kids can take home leftovers. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then I've got beautiful red beets here too. Maybe I should have put them first, but then I didn't want to get the yellow ones. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. And then
oranges.
Oranges. We've got orange slices here, and I just want to show you sort of my favorite way of slicing an orange. And it's to cut the bottom off, and then cut the top off, and then cut the peel off from top to bottom like this, and not too deep, even if you have to go around another time, and then to slice them. Don't get too much pith in, because the pith is good for you, but it's a little bitter. So I don't mind leaving a little in there, but I don't want to leave too much.
So my mom and I have different styles when we, I'm a bit more of a, like you, I mean, you'll see, you saw how long it took to do that. Like it doesn't take a crazy amount of time, but my mom says, which is the cutest thing ever, that she likes things to look like they fell from heaven. So she like throws it on, and I'm like, well, let me just
fix it up a bit.
Let me just organize it a little bit now.
No, she makes the most incredible roasted vegetable platters and salad platters. It's amazing. And then just slice like this. And then you get beautiful rounds of lemons, oranges, grapefruits,
lemons?
You know, anything. Well, you can have rounds of.
We absolutely
That's very
could.
beautiful.
Okay.
So we're using blood oranges that are sort of on their way to really bloody.
Oh,
They're
this
kind of
is
pinky.
going to be really beautiful, this one.
This one?
Yeah.
And then regular oranges, and also Cara oranges are just coming on the market, and they're a beautiful color.
Here? Oh my God, they're
so I love to have like a variety of colors. And sometimes in the book there's a recipe for it, just an orange salad, like for dessert, just to put the different colors of oranges on the plate and bring it out either with dessert or instead of dessert. I always like to have something sort of sweet for dessert and then have the orange salad, but it's up, you know, it's entirely
and
up
I
to
would
you.
like
But these
to
are
say,
really beautiful.
If you haven't had Cara oranges, like they ruined navel oranges for me. Like they are just the most delicious oranges.
So in here for the dressing, I've got pomegranate molasses, and pomegranate molasses is getting to be very popular, so it's very kind of easy to find. And then, will you just check this recipe for me and remind me what goes in here? And I know that there's salt.
Okay, so 1/3 cup of olive oil, and 2 tablespoons of pomegranate molasses, 2 tablespoons of honey or more to taste.
So pomegranate molasses is very, what's that word? Tart.
Tart.
So you want to just balance it with a little bit of honey. Or you could use maple syrup, would be delicious. And it is a good idea to measure. Another thing about pomegranate molasses is you can make it yourself, you know. Like if you buy the pomegranate juice and you just cook it down without any sugar or anything in it, just reduce it and reduce it and reduce it. It takes a long time. Do it on a low heat. It takes about an hour. Leave no cover, of course, because you want it to reduce. And then it will get really thick and kind of creamy. And it's absolutely delicious. And that's how they make it. This one is very brightly colored.
Yes, that's
I've never seen a brightly colored one like this, but it doesn't matter.
But don't worry, it'll be delicious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just don't worry, because there's another meal around the corner, right?
Okay. And then...
and you know, one thing that I do want to say, and I try to stress this in all my classes before and now when I'm talking about food, is that even though food is really important, and food is very important in my life, and it always has been, when you're having people over for dinner, or if you're cooking for your family, or whatever you're doing, food is kind of the least important thing. The most important thing is the relationship that you establish with the people who you're inviting over. You know, the connections that you make, the friendships that you make, how you treat people when they're in your home, and how you make them feel comfortable. And if you're a nervous wreck, then, you know, they're going to feel that, and you don't want that to happen. So sometimes people say, well, you know, how do I make a recipe for the first time for company? Don't make a recipe for the first time for company. Make something that you feel really comfortable about. And it doesn't have to be, every single recipe doesn't have to be your favorite dish. It has to be the dish that is the easiest for you. So, you know, if 5 things have to cook in the oven, you know, it isn't a problem with the 5 things. It's your problem in menu planning. So when you're menu planning, always think about, you know, how you're going to get everything on the table when you want it on the table. And it should be based around one thing. Usually it's the main course, but it doesn't have to be. You know, if there's a special dish that you really want to serve that needs last minute attention, make sure everything else is something that can be done ahead. So it doesn't really matter what it is. Okay, so I'm just going to add some olive oil here. Is there anything else that goes in here?
Yep. You got the honey in there, lemon juice.
Oh, I forgot the lemon juice. This lemon is getting a lot of action. Okay, will you just hold this because it's going to fall over? Mm-hmm. Okay.
The jumping seed. I don't know if anyone saw.
A lot of bits.
And did you put honey in here? I missed
did.
it. Okay, and salt?
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay.
No.
I think a little bit more olive oil.
Some pepper.
So the reason why I like to use extra virgin olive oil is because that's the olive oil that has the most health benefits for us and the best tasting olive oil. Regular olive oil is processed, whereas extra virgin olive oil is minimally processed. And that's what you want to use, is minimally processed oil.
Do you want to drizzle it on?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to drizzle it on because
no.
It just needs more lemon juice.
Okay.
Very sweet. Taste your pomegranate molasses. Usually it's very, very acidic, but this one was probably sweeter than what I was thinking, and I didn't taste it first.
That's okay. Do you want a squishy? Okay.
Got it. Okay.
What brands of pomegranate molasses?
I'm picturing the bottle, but I
know,
can't
I'm
think
picturing the bottle too. Which one? Which one?
I'm going to just Google it for us.
Anna's looking it up.
I'm not as good. So I will tell you that so again, like writing the book, my mom would say, well, but can they, what grocery stores could everyone find this ingredient in? And then we would check, I mean, of course it's different here in Toronto and different places, but we would try to, my mom is so worried that I should flip it the other way. She just really, really wants everyone to succeed with the recipe, right? So a lot of care and time and Googling was put into figuring out what store carried what products and making sure that things were available. I can't seem to, I'm gonna get off my phone because that's weird. I can't seem to find the bottle that we use. Okay, so what else are we putting on here?
So we're putting on roasted pecans, but it could be walnuts. You know, walnuts are sometimes a problem. You always have to taste them because they can be very bitter, but when they're not really bitter, they're really wonderful. So I do have good luck with the ones in Costco bags, you know, those ones for some reason. And then I roast them and I freeze them and I use them from the frozen state. And I do the same thing for pecans. I do the same thing for hazelnuts. I do the same thing for almonds, like whole almonds. I have had better luck recently, whereas when you buy them in bulk, in a bulk store where it's open, you don't know how long they've been there, you don't know how old they might be, and they do go off faster than some of the other nuts. So just be careful with them. Okay, and we're putting a little bit of mint on top as well, fresh mint. Now, something about fresh herbs is that if you don't have all the fresh herbs that I call for in a recipe, let's say for that jala salad, then what you want to do is just use the fresh herbs that you have. Don't substitute dried herbs for fresh herbs, because fresh herbs are
very
fresh.
different. Yeah.
And dried herbs are concentrated, and they have also, if you use them in large quantities, would have sort of that bittery taste. And dried herbs work best when they're cooked for a long time in a stew or a soup or something like that, whereas fresh herbs are immediate and they give it that boost of freshness and flavor. And when I first started cooking, the only fresh herbs you could get in Toronto anyway was parsley and dill and green onions. And that was summer and winter. So unless you grew your own fresh herbs, you never got anything besides that. And then slowly, you know, in summertime, you could get things like basil. It was so exciting when fresh basil came, when you could. And now you really can get fresh herbs all the time, and usually all winter too. So they are more expensive. You know, if you have a garden in the summer, you can freeze them, but they still don't taste as fresh herbs. So be careful. And what you can do with extra fresh herbs is you can make some of those things like pesto sauce, and you can freeze it. You can make the sahug, which is cilantro pesto. I call it cilantro pesto, and I use it on everything, and I freeze it. So you can make soups with them. You can make things with the fresh herbs and then freeze those things better than freezing the fresh herbs on their own. What do you think?
What do you think?
So, do you have any questions? We have time for some questions.
I think, so we're done with the recipes. Fabulous. Yes. Thank you. We hope you'll make them and show us.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing more exciting than seeing people actually cooking from the book, and it's really, it just means everything. Yeah.
And you can post, if you are on Instagram, you can follow us and you can post them, and then we'll repost it for you.
I will repost it for her.
She will, sorry. I give all these instructions, and then she comes in and gives the real instructions.
No, it was good. You're right.
Did I do it right?
Tag Bonnie. Yeah. And
okay, why don't you tell them how we do our reels?
Do you want to describe how we do the reels?
So, you know, we have reels, and I don't talk fast enough. Like, I can never talk fast enough for her. So I have to talk faster.
And in my defense, I don't want her to talk fast. Like, so what happens when, and if you aren't on Instagram, or if you don't know, Instagram was all, this is my understanding, and I like to say that, like, creating content for social media is now the skill that I have that I never wanted. But Instagram stopped caring about photos, and now they want you to make mini movies. And so you basically have to post a movie, you have to, like, create a film in order to have anyone be able to see it. And so you make these reels, and they
can only be a minute and a half.
They can only be 90 seconds. And so what ends up happening is we'll make a recipe, or we'll do something that should be a reel. And how it started.
But I want to tell you everything.
She wants to
tell
you everything.
Like, you could tell, couldn't you? That I have to tell you everything about every ingredient.
So what ends up happening is I film whatever it is that we're doing, and then I go home and I have 17 minutes of my mom telling you everything, and she's like, oh, and then this, and so what you'll notice in the reels is that I have to cut it down to 90 seconds, and so her voice is, like, always going up when she gets cut off, because there's always something else she wants to tell you and to share, and so what I try to say, which we haven't gotten to yet, is not talk fast, but talk short. Right? Like we want it to be, like, short things, but it's more like a stream of consciousness that's happening. But it's okay.
Anyway, we have learned to put up with each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so questions.
Yes.
There's a question. Lynette.
Bonnie, we first discovered you, and it was actually my husband is a national post many, many years ago, and because he's also a cook. And I just want you to know that your recipes are fail-proof recipes. And you're in our kitchen more than you know that you are. And I'm sure you're in many people's kitchens. But every recipe that we've cooked of yours over the years, we had also seen you at Jasper, at the JPL many, many appreciation for your recipes and for sharing them with us, because they really are foolproof recipes that you've really developed. So thank you, Bonnie, very much.
Now, I have known Lynette for a long time.
That was planted.
I did not pay her to say this. However, I should say Lynette and her husband Roger were on my trip to Israel a couple of years ago, and it was an absolute pleasure to be with them as well. So thank you for coming today, and thank you for saying that.
As someone who doesn't know you
Yeah.
someone gifted your Friday night cookbook gift when we were married, and before COVID and before having a baby, when we were hosting more. I agree the recipes were foolproof and it was always wowed.
Wow, thank you so much.
When I was little, and people would come, or people knew that my mom was Bonnie, or anyone was. I guess I was a child, and you try to make conversation with them, right? But people would say like, "Tell your mom her recipes work," and I would be like, "Yeah." Like I didn't I hadn't started cooking myself from recipes yet. I didn't understand. Like, isn't that the point of a recipe? And then I grew up and right, and then I started cooking from books, and I was like, her recipes actually do work. Yeah, I get it.
I try. I really do try
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went to your cooking school in my 20s for like 4 years. My husband said, well, he wasn't my husband then. He was like, oh, why don't you try it? And anyway, I had all your cookbooks, and you were amazing, and you say that you care. You were so funny one time in the winter. I don't know, I was taking the subway home, and you were like, oh my God, are you going to be okay?
Thank you. I mean, really, and thank you all for coming out today. I mean, it really has been a pleasure to be here. I haven't been to Edmonton in a while, so it was wonderful for us to come.
It was my first. This is my first time in Edmonton. Yeah.
And I want to just thank everyone, and Chloe, and especially Chloe and Tammy for taking care of us while we were here, and your whole committee, and everyone here, the chef, and everyone at the golf course here, and everyone connected with the event, and especially for all of you for coming out. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We do have 2 quick questions from Zoom, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
The first question is, do you mean the pomegranate juice to reduce to make the pomegranate molasses?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the second question was, they asked you to repeat the name of the tahini brand again.
Fish.
Vish.
Yeah, it's from a restaurant called Vish.
Vish.
So it's available in Edmonton at the restaurant. Are there any other questions quickly? Okay, we are going to...
We're going to have samples now.
Yes.
So if everybody wants to sit tight at their table, they'll be brought around to the tables to taste. And then Raina's going to come say a few closing words after that. So please feel free to talk amongst yourselves and enjoy your samples.
Yay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
In the interest of shortening up the end of the program and getting to the book signing, Raina's going to say her few words now as the samples are being passed out and released. Thank you.
Do you want some water? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I took it off.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Ooh, I can be really loud, so I'm sorry if I'm bursting your eardrums. I'll be really quick, so don't worry. You don't have to listen to too much longer. You can enjoy some food up soon.
Don't worry. It's catchy.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raina Liu, and I'm one of the volunteer organizers of this event. As I mentioned, this will be short. I just have a few quick thank yous and some housekeeping. To start, I want to say it's so nice that we're all together. It's obviously been a long time since many of us have seen each other. And I think it's really nice and really special that we are all able to come together today over food, which of course is something that Jews love to do. So that's really special. thank you to the volunteer committee that I'm a part of. Chloe, I believe, already thanked us all, but thank you. This event wouldn't have happened without you, so can we put our hands together for the committee, please? To Chloe and Sandy, this event would not have happened without you, really. Your organization, leadership, and vision brought this event together. I hope you are happy with how everything turned out this afternoon. I think so far it's just been absolutely beautiful, and looking forward to trying the food. So, we have a little thank you for each of you.
So beautiful.
Okay, we're moving. To Bonnie and to Anna, thank you so much for hosting this event and for coming out all the way to Edmonton.
In the snow.
I was actually advised not to mention snow too many times because we're trying to really upkeep the image of the city, so it's looking great out there. This event has just been so wonderful, and I know that I speak for everybody in this room and on Zoom when I express our gratitude to you for coming out and for cooking for us, and also our excitement, I think, to cook from the book. I'm really looking forward to it. And I have to say that your tips were really, really helpful. My mother made me write them down. So as a token of our appreciation, we have 2 Jason Carter prints for you. He's an Indigenous artist from the Edmonton area, and we hope that you'll look at them and remember Edmonton in your nice trip out here.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Oh my God.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
You're gonna have to fight.
Oh my gosh.
On who gets which. And there's beautiful stories on the back of what it is.
Just totally beautiful.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. They're so
now I just have a
Gorgeous.
quick. And finally, in closing, thank you all so much for being here today, for braving the snow, which I said once, and the time change, and being here on time, and for supporting Edmonton United Jewish Appeal. Please remember to make a gift this year if you have not already done so, and with that, enjoy the food, everybody.